Confidence is not just a trait we are born with. It's a signal. It tells the world we believe in ourselves, in our cause, and in what we are here to do. When we exude real confidence, we give permission for others to trust us, not because we're perfect, but because we're consistent and clear in our intent. Without confidence, even the best ideas can be ignored, simply because no one believes the person delivering them believes in them. When you walk into a room with confidence, you're not just changing how others see you, you're changing how they see the possibilities in front of them. A leader without confidence can make a great opportunity look risky. A parent without confidence can make a safe choice look uncertain. A teacher without confidence can make a student question their own potential. In every interaction, confidence becomes the amplifier of the message. Confidence matters because it builds trust before the first result appears. People don't follow leaders because they have all the answers. They follow leaders who believe deeply enough to keep going when answers are not yet in sight. That belief is contagious. It reassures others that they are safe to take the next step, even when the outcome is uncertain. Think about the moments when you've been inspired to take a risk, to speak up, or to try something new. Chances are, there was someone in your corner who believed in you. Sometimes more than you believed in yourself. Their confidence transferred to you, and it gave you the courage to act. That's the invisible power of confidence. It multiplies when shared. Confidence also determines how much of your true self you bring to the table. Without it, you filter your words, downplay your abilities, and hesitate in moments that require decisiveness. With it, you speak openly, you take ownership of your actions, and you operate from a place of authenticity. People respond to that because authenticity feels safe. It signals there's nothing hidden. It's important to understand that confidence is not bravado. Bravado shouts to cover insecurity. Confidence speaks with quiet conviction because it has nothing to prove. Bravado needs validation. Confidence comes from knowing your purpose, your values, and the value you bring. When you know your why, confidence becomes the natural byproduct. In teams, confidence is the difference between momentum and stagnation. A confident team trusts itself to make decisions, to adapt, and to persevere when things get difficult. Without confidence, a team second guesses, delays action, and ultimately misses opportunities. One person's steady confidence can anchor an entire group in moments of uncertainty. On a personal level, confidence shapes the limits of what we even attempt. The person who doubts themselves won't raise their hand for the opportunity, won't voice the idea, and won't take the first step. The person with confidence doesn't wait for the path to be fully clear. They start moving, trusting they'll figure it out along the way. In this way, confidence becomes the gateway to growth, experience, and impact. Reframe failure as fuel. Failure is not the opposite of success. It's the process of building it. Every time we stumble, we are gathering the raw material for confidence. Lessons learned through action. The people we admire most are rarely the ones who had a perfect path. They are the ones who turned their setbacks into stepping stones. When we learn to reframe failure, we strip it of its power to define us, and instead use it to refine us. The problem is that most of us are conditioned to see failure as proof we weren't good enough. From an early age, mistakes are treated as something to be avoided, not explored. But failure is not a verdict. It's feedback. It's the world saying, "Not this way, try another." If we listen without judgment, that feedback becomes one of our greatest sources of insight. Every failure carries within it the seeds of confidence, but only if we choose to look for them. The act of facing a challenge, attempting something outside our comfort zone, and surviving the result, even if it's not what we wanted, proves we are capable of more than we thought. The courage to try again grows from the knowledge that we have already stood in the arena and endured. When we reframe failure, we also change our relationship with risk. Without that shift, fear of failing can keep us locked in the safe zone, where nothing truly meaningful is created. So, by seeing failure as part of the journey, we become willing to take bold steps, knowing that even if they don't work, they will lead us closer to the answer. In this way, failure becomes a form of progress. Some of the most innovative breakthroughs have come from ideas that didn't work the first time, or the 10th. What sets successful people apart is not their immunity to failure, but their refusal to let it be the final chapter. They mine it for lessons, adjust their approach, and come back stronger. That persistence builds an unshakable form of confidence, the kind that comes from repeatedly proving to yourself that you can get back up. Reframing failure also means detaching it from our identity. Failing at something doesn't make us a failure. It simply means the strategy, timing, or execution wasn't right. When we see it that way, we protect our self-worth from being tied to a single outcome. This allows us to experiment more freely and recover more quickly. The emotional sting of failure is real, and reframing it doesn't mean ignoring the disappointment. It means allowing ourselves to feel it, then using that energy as motivation. Frustration can become fuel, driving us to prepare more deeply, think more creatively, and push ourselves further than we would have without the setback. Over time, each reframed failure becomes part of a larger story, a story where our confidence is not built on perfection, but on persistence. We learn that resilience is a skill, and like any skill, it strengthens the more we use it. Each challenge faced, and each setback overcome becomes evidence that we are capable of handling whatever comes next. The power of small wins confidence rarely arrives in one giant leap. It's built brick by brick, through small wins that stack over time. These wins are often so modest, they might seem insignificant in the moment, but they create momentum. Each success, no matter how small, sends a signal to your brain. I can do this. Over time, those signals form a belief system strong enough to carry you through much bigger challenges. Small wins are powerful because they're achievable. They don't require us to be perfect or to have all the answers from the start. Instead, they invite us to take one step forward, then another, and then another. That forward motion builds a rhythm, and with each completed step, our sense of capability grows. This is how confidence becomes a habit rather than a wish. When we focus only on the big end goal, it can feel overwhelming. We see the gap between where we are and where we want to be, and that gap can paralyze us. But small wins close that gap one action at a time. They turn an intimidating journey into a series of manageable stages, each one offering its own moment of achievement. Small wins also create proof. Confidence is built not on empty affirmations, but on evidence. When you keep promises to yourself, even in small ways, finishing a workout, making that difficult phone call, learning one new skill, you build a track record that tells your mind, I follow through. That self-trust becomes the foundation for taking bigger risks. In teams, celebrating small wins has a multiplying effect. When a group acknowledges progress regularly, morale stays high and momentum is maintained. Each achievement reinforces the idea that success is possible and that everyone is contributing. This creates a positive feedback loop where effort leads to recognition, which leads to more effort. Small wins also shift our focus from perfection to progress. Instead of waiting until everything is flawless, we acknowledge and appreciate forward movement. This mindset frees us from the fear of starting, because we know that even the smallest step counts. It also reduces burnout, because we can see and feel that we're making headway. There is a psychological boost that comes from completing a task and checking it off. That sense of closure releases dopamine, a brain chemical linked to motivation and reward. The more we experience it, the more we want to keep going. This is why even the tiniest accomplishments can have an outsized impact on our drive and confidence. Over time, the accumulation of small wins changes how we see ourselves. We no longer define our capability by what we hope we can do, but by a history of things we've already done. Each win, no matter how minor it seemed at the time, becomes part of a quiet but unshakable foundation of self-belief that supports every step we take. Next, know your values. Confidence rooted in values is far stronger than confidence rooted in circumstances. Circumstances can change in an instant. Success can fade, recognition can disappear, but values remain steady. When you know what you stand for, your decisions, actions, and words align naturally, and that alignment creates a deep, unshakable self-assurance. Values act as a compass. They point you toward what matters most, even when the path ahead is unclear. In moments of uncertainty, having that internal compass allows you to move forward without hesitation. You don't need every detail to be certain. You just need to know the direction that honors your principles. When your values are clear, you stop second-guessing yourself. Doubt often comes from trying to please everyone or fit into standards that aren't your own. But when you act according to your values, you don't have to justify yourself endlessly. You already know why you're making the choice, and that clarity shows in your confidence. Values also serve as a filter for opportunities and relationships. Not everything that looks appealing is right for you, and without values as a guide, it's easy to be pulled into situations that drain your energy and undermine your belief in yourself. Knowing your values allows you to say no to what doesn't fit, and that act of self-respect reinforces your confidence. In leadership, values are what inspire trust. People can sense when you're making decisions for reasons deeper than personal gain. When your actions consistently align with your principles, others feel safe to follow you. That trust not only builds their confidence in you, it also strengthens your own confidence in your ability to lead authentically. Living by your values also protects your confidence in the face of criticism. When you know your choices are guided by something solid, external opinions lose their power to shake you. You can listen to feedback without feeling attacked because your sense of worth isn't dependent on everyone's approval. Sometimes, knowing your values means standing alone. It can mean making the unpopular choice, speaking up when it's easier to stay silent, or taking the harder road because it's the right one. Each time you do, you reinforce the belief that you can trust yourself to act with integrity, no matter the pressure. Over time, aligning your life with your values creates a form of confidence that feels calm rather than loud. It doesn't need to be announced, because it's visible in the consistency of your actions. That consistency becomes the evidence, not only for others, but for yourself, that you are living in a way that's true to who you are. Control the inner dialogue. The most important conversation you'll ever have is the one you have with yourself. That inner dialogue shapes how you see the world, how you interpret events, and how you decide to act. If the voice in your head is constantly doubting, criticizing, or undermining you, confidence becomes almost impossible to sustain. But when that voice encourages, challenges, and supports you, it becomes a source of strength you can draw on at any moment. Our thoughts are not always facts, yet our brains often treat them as if they are. A single self-critical thought can ripple outward, affecting how we show up in a meeting, how we approach a challenge, or how we interact with others. By becoming aware of this inner commentary, we can start questioning it instead of accepting it blindly. That awareness is the first step in taking control. Controlling the inner dialogue doesn't mean replacing every negative thought with blind positivity. It means creating a voice that is honest but constructive, one that acknowledges challenges while reminding you of your ability to handle them. This kind of balanced self-talk fuels confidence because it's grounded in reality and possibility. The words we say to ourselves influence the way our bodies respond. A mind that constantly says, and a constant "I'm not ready" signals the body to shrink back, to hesitate, to avoid. A mind that says, "I can try," or "I'll figure it out," sends a very different signal, one that primes the body for action. Confidence grows when the body and mind work together toward movement instead of retreat. Much of our inner dialogue is inherited from parents, teachers, peers, and experiences. Some of it lifts us up, and some of it holds us back. Taking control means deciding which voices get to stay and which need to be rewritten. This process isn't instant, but each shift toward a more supportive inner voice builds a stronger foundation for confidence. When the stakes are high, the inner dialogue becomes even more influential. In moments of pressure, our brains default to familiar scripts. If we've trained those scripts to be empowering, they'll guide us towards steady action rather than panic. This is why athletes, performers, and leaders often rehearse not just their skills, but their mental language as well. The inner dialogue also shapes how we interpret failure and success. If the voice in your head treats setbacks as proof of inadequacy, your confidence erodes quickly. But if it frames them as opportunities to learn, each experience, good or bad, becomes fuel for growth. That mindset shift transforms challenges from threats into training. Over time, the relationship you have with yourself determines how far you're willing to go. A supportive inner dialogue doesn't eliminate fear or doubt, but it makes sure they don't get the final word. It becomes the quiet, steady voice that says, "Keep going." And each time you listen, your confidence deepens a little more. Surround yourself with believers. Confidence is contagious, and so is doubt. The people you spend the most time with have a direct influence on how you see yourself and what you believe is possible. If you are surrounded by people who constantly question your abilities or diminish your ideas. It becomes harder to maintain belief in yourself. But when you're around those who see your potential and encourage your growth, their faith can strengthen your own. Believers are not people who blindly agree with everything you say. They are people who challenge you with the intent to help you grow, not tear you down. Not tear you down. Their support comes from wanting you to succeed, not from keeping you comfortable. This kind of encouragement pushes you to aim higher and to see yourself through a lens of possibility rather than limitation. When you are building confidence, your environment matters as much as your mindset. The words, energy, and expectations of the people closest to you either reinforce your self-belief or erode it. Surrounding yourself with believers creates a kind of safety net. You can take bigger risks knowing there are people ready to catch you if you stumble. Believers remind you of your strengths in moments when you forget them. Self-doubt often distorts reality, making you focus on your flaws or failure. A strong support circle can counter that distortion by holding up a mirror to your abilities and past successes. Their perspective can be the difference between giving up and trying again. Being around believers also normalizes ambition. When you see others pursuing their goals with determination and resilience, it becomes natural to do the same. Their example reinforces the idea that challenges are not signs to stop, but signals to adapt. This shared mindset creates a collective momentum that keeps everyone moving forward. Everyone moving forward. Choosing to spend time with believers doesn't mean cutting ties with anyone who doubts you, but it does mean being intentional about where you invest your energy. The people you engage with most should be the ones who fuel your growth, not drain it. This choice isn't just about emotional comfort. It's about protecting the space where your confidence can thrive. Believers also help you see beyond your current limitations. They notice opportunities you might overlook and introduce you to possibilities you might not have considered. Sometimes their belief in you will come before your own belief catches up, and that borrowed confidence can be enough to get you started. Over time, the presence of believers in your life shapes your own inner voice. Their encouragement becomes part of your mental soundtrack, influencing the way you talk to yourself and the way you approach challenges. In this way, the right people don't just support your confidence, they help build it from the inside out, prepare relentlessly. Confidence is not a gift, it's a result. And one of the most reliable ways to create it is through relentless preparation. When you know you've done the work, you walk into any situation with a quiet certainty that you can handle what comes. Preparation removes the guesswork from performance. It turns hope into readiness. A relentless preparation is more than just going over the basics. It means rehearsing beyond the point of comfort, digging deeper into the details, and anticipating what could go wrong. The goal is not perfection, it's familiarity. The more familiar you are with the material, the skill, or the process, the less room there is for uncertainty to take hold. Preparation also builds resilience. When you've trained for multiple scenarios, setbacks feel less like surprises and more like challenges you've already accounted for. This allows you to adapt quickly, because your mind isn't scrambling for a plan. It already has several in reserve. That adaptability is one of the strongest forms of confidence. The act of preparing relentlessly sends a message to yourself that you take your goals seriously. It reinforces self-respect, as you're proving through action that you're willing to put in the effort required for success. That commitment strengthens belief not just in your ability, but in your discipline. In high-pressure situations, preparation acts as an anchor. Anxiety often spikes when we feel unready, but when you've rehearsed enough times, muscle memory takes over. You can perform even when your mind is racing because your body knows the steps. That automatic competence is the result of hours, sometimes years, of practice. Preparation is also a confidence multiplier when working with others. A prepared person earns trust quickly. People can sense when you've anticipated their needs, understood the task thoroughly, and can answer questions with clarity. That trust opens doors, creates opportunities, and positions you as someone who can be relied on. Relentless preparation does not mean rigid thinking. In fact, it's the opposite. The deeper your preparation, the more freedom you have to improvise when circumstances change. Because you understand the foundation so well, you can adapt without losing balance. This flexibility is what separates true confidence from brittle overconfidence. Over time, relentless preparation creates a reputation, not just in the eyes of others, but in your own. You begin to see yourself as someone who shows up ready, no matter the challenge. That identity becomes a self-fulfilling cycle, where each prepared performance builds more confidence for the next serve something bigger than yourself. The most unshakable confidence doesn't come from proving yourself. It comes from serving something beyond yourself. When your focus is on a mission, a cause, or a purpose that matters deeply, the fear of judgment loses its grip. You're no longer performing to be liked. You're acting to make an impact. That shift in focus changes the way you show up in every situation. When the goal is bigger than your personal gain, setbacks become easier to navigate. A challenge doesn't feel like a personal failure. It's just another obstacle between the mission and its outcome. This perspective removes much of the ego from the equation, allowing you to stay calm, steady, and committed even when the path is difficult. Serving a greater purpose also fuels perseverance. Personal motivation can fade when things get tough, but commitment to something meaningful creates a deeper reserve of drive. You push through discomfort because you're not just working for yourself. You're working for the people, values, or vision you represent. Confidence built on service is also more authentic. When people sense that your actions are guided by genuine care rather than self-promotion, their trust in you grows. That trust becomes a reinforcing loop. You believe in the mission, others believe in you, and together, that belief amplifies the impact you can make. A mission-driven mindset also helps you take bolder actions. When you believe deeply in the cause, you're willing to risk criticism, failure, or discomfort to move it forward. The fear of looking foolish fades because the importance of the work outweighs the cost to your ego. This kind of courage often inspires others to take their own leaps. Serving something bigger than yourself provides a clear source of direction. It answers the question, why am I doing this? Before it even needs to be asked. That clarity simplifies decision-making and strengthens resolve, because you already know what aligns with your purpose and what doesn't. In moments of doubt, the mission can become your anchor. You might not feel unstoppable in every moment, but the cause you serve remains steady, reminding you why you started. That reminder can be the spark that reignites your determination when it starts to fade. Over time, living in service to something bigger than yourself changes how you define success. It's no longer about titles, recognition, or applause. It's about progress toward the vision. That redefinition creates a confidence that isn't fragile because it's rooted in contribution rather than comparison.